What if I told you that some of the most breathtakingly beautiful women Hollywood ever put on screen are still turning heads today? And a few of them look even better than they did 50 years ago. And then, there are the ones whose stories will absolutely break your heart. Stick around because by the time we get to number one, your jaw is going to be on the floor. Let's go. Today we're counting down 12 of the most gorgeous, iconic, and unforgettable women from Hollywood's golden eras, the smoky, sensational 1970s and the bold, glamorous 1990s. We're going from their absolute peak on the silver screen all the way to where they are right now in 2025. And trust me, some of these updates will warm your heart, some will shock you, and at least one is going to make you emotional. So, if you're new here, welcome, and let's get into it. Before we dive in real quick, and if you love nostalgia, if you grew up watching these incredible women on screen, or if you just appreciate timeless beauty and amazing stories, please hit that like button right now. It costs you nothing, but for a small channel like mine, it means absolutely everything. And if you want more content like this, subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss a video. Drop a comment below telling me which one of these women was your favorite growing up. I genuinely read every single one. Okay, now let's go back in time. Number 12, Pam Grier. Number 12 is a woman who didn't just walk into Hollywood, she kicked the door down. Pam Grier was the baddest woman on the big screen in the 1970s. Full stop. If you grew up watching Coffy in 1973 or Foxy Brown in 1974, you already know exactly what I'm talking about. This woman was fearless, magnetic, and drop-dead gorgeous, with a screen presence so powerful that she basically invented the action heroine before that was even a category. She wore skin-tight outfits, carried guns, took down criminals, and did it all while looking absolutely stunning. Hollywood hadn't seen anything like her. But here's the thing, people forget, Pam Grier wasn't just a pretty face doing exploitation films. She was a trailblazer. She was one of the very first Black women to carry an action film as the lead, not a sidekick, not the love interest, the lead. And she did it over and over again at a time when Hollywood was barely casting Black women in meaningful roles at all. Can you imagine how revolutionary that was in 1973? Now, in 2025, Pam Grier is 75 years old and absolutely still standing tall. She famously got one of the greatest career revivals in Hollywood history when Quentin Tarantino cast her as the lead in Jackie Brown in 1997, a film many critics consider one of his best. And she proved to the entire world that she had never lost a single step. Beyond acting, Pam has been remarkably open about her health journey, having survived cervical cancer in the early 1980s, something she has spoken about bravely and publicly to help raise awareness for women's health. She's written a memoir, she's been honored repeatedly as a cultural icon, and she remains one of the most dignified, sharp, and inspiring figures in Hollywood's history. Do you think Pam Grier's role in Foxy Brown was the moment that changed Hollywood for women of color forever? Let me know below. Number 11, Bo Derek. If the 1970s had a symbol of pure, sun-drenched, unapologetic beauty, it was Bo Derek. When she appeared on screen in 10 in 1979, the world literally stopped. That iconic run on the beach in a Riviera swimsuit with her hair in braids, it became one of the most reproduced images of that entire decade. Overnight, she wasn't just a movie star, she was a cultural moment. Her score of 10 in that film became a way people talked about attractiveness for years afterward. Magazines couldn't print her image fast enough, she was everywhere. But here's something fascinating most people don't know. Bo Derek almost didn't happen at all. She was discovered by director Blake Edwards when she was just a teenager. And she married him, a man 30 years her senior, which caused enormous controversy at the time. Their relationship was actually a love story that lasted until his passing in 2010, and Bo has spoken about it with nothing but warmth and deep affection. Real love stories don't always look the way people expect them to. Now in 2025, Bo Derek is 68 years old and genuinely excited, still beautiful. She's been in a long-term relationship with actor John Corbett, yes, that John Corbett from My Big Fat Greek Wedding, since the early 2000s, and the two married in 2020 after 18 years together. She remains active in horse breeding and equestrian advocacy, which has become her true passion, and she occasionally steps back into the public eye for interviews and appearances. She still carries herself with that same quiet elegance that made the world fall in love with her. When you think of the 1970s movie beauty icon, is it Bo Derek who immediately comes to mind? Or is there someone else? Tell me below. Number 10, Jacqueline Bisset. Some women were beautiful. And then there was Jacqueline Bisset, who was something else entirely. The British actress swept through Hollywood in the late 1960s and exploded through the 1970s as one of the most refined, elegant, and achingly gorgeous women on any screen in the world. Her role in Bullitt alongside Steve McQueen in 1968 introduced her to America. But it was films like The Deep in 1977, where she wore that iconic white t-shirt in the ocean, that cemented her as a global sex symbol in a way that was both effortless and timeless. What made Jacqueline different from many of her contemporaries was the depth she brought to every role. She wasn't just cast for her looks. Directors wanted her presence, her intelligence, her ability to command a scene without saying a word. She worked with some of the greatest filmmakers of the 20th century, including Francois Truffaut, and she was completely fluent in French, which opened up an entire European film world to her. She has always existed beautifully between Hollywood glamour and European artistic cinema. Now, in 2025, Jacqueline Bisset is 80 years old, and she is breathtaking. She has never had a dramatic Hollywood comeback because honestly, she never really left. She has continued working steadily in film and television well into her 70s, most recently appearing in prestige TV productions and receiving Lifetime Achievement recognition at various international film festivals. She has never married. She has spoken candidly about living life entirely on her own terms, and she remains one of those rare women in Hollywood who seems to genuinely age like a piece of fine art. Do you think Jacqueline Bisset is one of the most underrated beauties Hollywood ever had? Drop your thoughts. Number 9. Goldie Hawn. Oh, Goldie, if you want a woman who bottled pure sunshine and sold it as a film career, it's Goldie Hawn. She burst onto the scene in the late 1960s, and by the 1970s, she was one of Hollywood's most beloved stars. Bright, bubbly, endlessly charming, and absolutely gorgeous. She won her Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress for Cactus Flower in 1969, and then spent the next 2 decades making audiences absolutely adore her in films like Private Benjamin, Overboard, Bird on a Wire, and Death Becomes Her. She had this rare gift of being genuinely funny and genuinely beautiful and genuinely warm, all at the same time. Here's a detail that always gets people. Goldie Hawn was actually one of the first major actresses in Hollywood to successfully produce her own films and maintain real creative control over her career. She wasn't just a star. She was a businesswoman ahead of her time. And the love story? She and Kurt Russell have been together since 1983, over 40 years, without ever getting married, and they remain one of Hollywood's most genuinely beloved and stable couples. In an industry full of broken relationships, their story is almost mythological. Now, in 2025, Goldie is 79 years old, and she radiates the exact same joy she always has. She has become deeply invested in her Mind Up Foundation, which focuses on children's mental health and mindfulness in schools, a passion project she takes enormously seriously. Her daughter, Kate Hudson, has followed in her footsteps and become a major star herself, and watching the two of them together is genuinely heartwarming. Goldie Hawn is living proof that happiness is the ultimate beauty secret. Do you think Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell are the greatest Hollywood couple of all time? What's your take? Number 8, Raquel Welch. I have to take a moment here. Because this one is personal for a lot of people. Raquel Welch. The name alone does something to you if you grew up in the right era. She was arguably the defining beauty icon of the 1970s, a woman so magnetic that her poster in 1 million years BC became one of the best-selling posters in history. That image, her in the animal skin bikini, was sold all over the world and hung on walls from California to Cairo. She wasn't just famous, she was a symbol of an entire era's idea of beauty. But Raquel Welch was always so much more than that image. She was sharp, she was funny, she was a trained dancer, and she had a fierce work ethic that kept her on screen and on stage for over 5 decades. She fought constantly against being reduced to just her looks, and she almost always won that fight. She appeared in The Three Musketeers, Myra Breckinridge, Legally Blonde, and dozens more. She reinvented herself again and again, and every single time she looked extraordinary doing it. Now, and this is where it gets emotional, Raquel Welch passed away in February 2023 at the age of 82. And the outpouring of grief from around the world was remarkable, not just for her beauty, but for what she represented. She represented the idea that a woman could be glamorous and intelligent and powerful and funny and resilient all at once. Her daughter, Tawny Welch, shared a beautiful tribute saying her mother was a force of nature right until the end. We lost a true legend. Rest beautifully, Raquel. What is your most treasured memory of Raquel Welch? Share it in the comments. Let's give her the tribute she deserves. Number 7, Sharon Stone. If the 1990s had a queen, a genuine, ice-cold, take-no-prisoners queen, it was Sharon Stone. The moment she uncrossed her legs in Basic Instinct in 1992, the entire world stopped breathing. That scene became one of the most discussed, debated, and written about moments in cinema history. But what people sometimes forget is how brilliantly she played that role. The intelligence, the menace, the power. It wasn't just about being beautiful, it was about being dangerous. She earned a Golden Globe for that performance and was nominated for an Academy Award for Casino in 1995, where she played Ginger McKenna in one of Martin Scorsese's most intense films. She was electric. What makes Sharon Stone's story even more remarkable is what happened behind the scenes. In 2001, she suffered a massive brain hemorrhage in a vertebral artery dissection, and the doctors told her she might not survive it. She spent years in recovery, lost much of her career momentum during that time, faced financial difficulties, and went through a deeply painful public divorce. She rebuilt herself from almost nothing. That's not just beauty. That is extraordinary strength. Now in 2025, Sharon Stone is 67 years old, and she looks, honestly, like time forgot about her. She has been remarkably open in her memoir, The Beauty of Living Twice, about her health battle, her trauma, her spiritual journey, and her reinvention. She continues to act and remains one of the most visually striking women in any room she walks into. She is also a fierce AIDS activist and philanthropist. Our Sharon Stone is proof that the most beautiful women are the ones who survived something. Do you think Sharon Stone's performance in Casino was even better than Basic Instinct? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Number 6, Demi Moore. The 1990s had a lot of beautiful women, but Demi Moore had something different. She had presence, heavy, undeniable, you can't look away presence. From her breakout in St. Elmo's Fire through the stratospheric success of Ghost in 1990, where the pottery scene became one of the most romantic moments in film history, to A Few Good Men, Indecent Proposal, and Striptease, Demi Moore was one of the highest-paid actresses in Hollywood history by the mid-1990s. She was the first woman to be paid $12.5 million for a single film in the 90s. Let that sink in. But the story that often gets lost is how hard Demi Moore's personal life actually was. She has written openly in her memoir Inside Out about childhood trauma, early addiction struggles, her complicated marriages, including her very public marriage and divorce from Ashton Kutcher, and the periods where she felt completely lost. She has spoken about hitting emotional rock bottom in her 40s and the slow, difficult process of finding herself again. It is one of the most raw and honest memoirs a Hollywood star has ever published. Now, in 2025, Demi Moore is 62 years old, and she is experiencing something of a genuine cultural renaissance. Her role in The Substance, the 2024 horror film that won her a Golden Globe for Best Actress, has reignited massive public conversation about her talent, her courage, and her extraordinary screen presence. She gave a speech at the Golden Globes that had the entire room in tears, talking about finally feeling enough. After everything she's been through, she is more than enough. She is magnificent. Did Demi Moore's Golden Globe win in 2024 finally give her the recognition you always felt she deserved? Drop a yes or no and tell me why. Number 5, Michelle Pfeiffer. Some people are beautiful. And then there is Michelle Pfeiffer, who seems to exist in a separate category that doesn't have a name yet. She emerged in the early 1980s, and by the late 1980s, and through the 1990s, she was simply one of the most acclaimed and stunning actresses working in Hollywood. Her performance as Elvira in Scarface made her a star. Her turn as Madame de Tourvel in Dangerous Liaison made people understand she was something extraordinary. Her role as Catwoman in Batman Returns in 1992, that sleek black suit, that whip, that dangerous smile, became one of the most iconic superhero performances in cinema history, period. People are still talking about it. What I love about Michelle Pfeiffer's story is how quietly she has always done things on her own terms. At the height of her fame, she stepped back considerably to focus on raising her children. She didn't chase every role or every headline. She married TV writer David E. Kelley in 1993, and they are still together today. A genuinely rare Hollywood love story. And then, every few years, she would come back to the screen and remind everybody exactly who she is. Now, in 2025, Michelle Pfeiffer is 66 years old, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this, she looks almost identical to how she looked in the 1990s. It defies logic. She has been remarkably active in recent years, appearing in the Marvel Cinematic Universe as Janet Van Dyne in Ant-Man and its sequels, and she recently received renewed critical praise for her work in French Exit. She has attributed her remarkable appearance largely to clean living, a plant-based diet, and genuinely not caring about Hollywood's toxic beauty standards. She is an icon in every possible sense of the word. Who do you think wore the Catwoman suit better, Michelle Pfeiffer or any actress who came after her? This one might start a debate in the comments. Number 4, Julia Roberts. There are movie stars, and then there is Julia Roberts, who has one of the most famous smiles in the history of human beings. She arrived like a thunderstorm with Steel Magnolias in 1989, and then became one of the biggest stars on planet Earth with Pretty Woman in 1990. That film made $463 million worldwide on a $14 million budget, and it made Julia Roberts the Julia Roberts we all know and love. She followed that with My Best Friend's Wedding, Notting Hill, Runaway Bride, Erin Brockovich, for which she won her Academy Award for Best Actress in 2001, and Ocean's 11. She was the highest-paid actress in the world. She was everywhere. She was everything to a generation of moviegoers. Julia Roberts has always been fascinating because underneath the megawatt smile was a woman who went through real pain. Her relationship history in the early 90s was spectacularly turbulent. She left Kiefer Sutherland at the altar, had a whirlwind romance with Lyle Lovett, experienced very public heartbreaks, and then quietly, in 2002, she married cinematographer Daniel Motter, whom she met on a film set, and they have now been together for over 20 years with 3 children. She found something real and held on to it. Now, in 2025, Julia Roberts is 57 years old, and she is exactly who she has always been. Warm, funny, effortlessly gorgeous, and possessing a laugh that could end wars. She has returned to the screen in recent years with critically praised work in Leave the World Behind on Netflix and continues to be one of the most recognized faces on Earth. She lives on a ranch in New Mexico, far from the Hollywood machine, on entirely her own terms. And that smile? Still the most disarming thing in Hollywood. What is your all-time favorite Julia Roberts film and why? I want to see if Pretty Woman dominates this section. Number 3, Sandra Bullock. If you want to talk about a woman who has genuinely earned every single thing she has, talk about Sandra Bullock. She grinded through years of small roles before Speed in 1994 rocketed her into a different stratosphere entirely. That film, her running on a bus that cannot slow down below 50 miles per hour, holding everything together alongside Keanu Reeves, was one of the great action films of the decade, and Sandra Bullock was the beating heart of it. She followed that with While You Were Sleeping, A Time to Kill, Miss Congeniality, 2 Weeks' Notice, Crash, The Blind Side, for which she won her Academy Award in 2010, and Gravity in 2013, one of the most technically spectacular films ever made, in which she carried nearly 2 hours almost entirely alone. But the story most people remember is the gut punch of 2010. Just days after winning her Oscar for The Blind Side, the news broke that her then-husband Jesse James had been serially unfaithful. She accepted her award with grace, found out about the betrayal almost simultaneously, and chose to step away from the spotlight quietly and with enormous dignity. She adopted 2 children, Louis and Layla, and rebuilt her life around them. She later found love with photographer Brian Randall, a relationship she described as the healthiest and most peaceful of her life. Now in 2025, Sandra Bullock is 60 years old and living a deliberately quiet life. She has spoken about stepping away from acting, at least for a significant period, to be present for her children, especially following the loss of Brian Randall, who passed away in 2023 after a private battle with ALS. She has handled every chapter of her life, the triumphs and the heartbreaks, with a grace and humanity that makes people love her, even more than her films do. She is one of the genuinely good ones. Do you think Sandra Bullock is the most genuinely lovable star Hollywood ever produced? Let me know in the comments. Number 2, Sophia Loren. We are almost at number 1, but first, how could this list exist without the one, the only, the eternal Sophia Loren? She is not just a beautiful woman. She is not just a movie star. Sophia Loren is a monument. Born in poverty in war-torn Naples, Italy, she grew up with almost nothing, malnourished, displaced by World War II, living in a house without proper walls. And from those ashes, she became the most internationally celebrated actress of the 20th century. How? Raw talent, relentless work, extraordinary bone structure, and an inner fire that never, ever went out. By the 1960s and 1970s, she was one of the most photographed women in the world. winning the Academy Award for Two Women in 1962, the first performer to win an Oscar for a non-English language performance, starring alongside Cary Grant, Frank Sinatra, Marcello Mastroianni, and Peter Sellers. She was glamour, she was sophistication, she was power. She married Italian film producer Carlo Ponti, who believed in her from the very beginning. In their relationship, complicated as it was by the Italian legal system, which didn't recognize their marriage for years, was the great love story of her life. When he passed in 2007, she was devastated. Now in 2025, Sophia Loren is 90 years old. 90, and she is extraordinary. She made an emotional return to film with Netflix's The Life Ahead in 2020, her first major film in nearly a decade, and won the Donatello Award for Best Actress in Italy for it. 90 years old. Winning awards, looking like a goddess. After suffering a hip fracture in late 2023 that required surgery and extensive rehabilitation, she recovered with characteristic determination. She has said publicly that she has no interest in stopping, that life is meant to be lived at full volume until the very last moment. Sophia Loren is not a movie star, and she is proof of what a human being can become. Do you believe Sophia Loren is the single greatest beauty Hollywood ever witnessed? I want to see this conversation happen below. Number 1, Farrah Fawcett. And we have arrived. Number 1, the one who started conversations, ended silence, and whose image is one of the most recognized photographs ever taken. Farrah Fawcett. If you grew up in the 1970s, or if your parents did, that poster needs no introduction. The red swimsuit, the blonde feathered hair, the smile that somehow managed to be both effortless and dazzling at the same time. Released in 1976, that poster sold over 12 million copies in its first year alone. 12 million. It became the best-selling poster in history. Farrah Fawcett wasn't just famous, she was ubiquitous. She was on Charlie's Angels. She was on every magazine cover. She was the person every woman wanted to look like and every man wanted to meet. But here's what the poster didn't tell you. Farrah Fawcett was one of the most genuinely talented and brave actresses of her generation. She walked away from the safety of Charlie's Angels at the peak of its popularity, a choice that was wildly controversial and professionally risky, because she wanted to be taken seriously as an actress, and she earned that. Her performance in the 1984 TV movie The Burning Bed, playing a battered wife who sets her abusive husband on fire, was so powerful, so raw, and so devastating that it sparked national conversations about domestic violence in America. She received an Emmy nomination and changed lives with that performance. That is not a sex symbol. That is an artist. And her personal life was one of extraordinary love and extraordinary pain. Her on-again, off-again relationship with Ryan O'Neal lasted for decades. Dramatic, passionate, complicated, and their son, Redmond, struggled deeply with addiction, which was a source of enormous grief for her. She found moments of joy and moments of real heartbreak, and she carried both with a quiet kind of grace. And then came the fight that the whole world watched, and that Farrah Fawcett insisted the world should watch. Diagnosed with anal cancer in 2006, she made the decision to document her treatment in a raw, unflinching documentary called Farrah's Story, which aired in 2009 and was watched by nearly 9 million people. She didn't hide. She didn't minimize. She looked directly into the camera while going through chemotherapy, radiation, and experimental treatments in Germany. And she said, "This is what this looks like." She did it to raise awareness. She did it so other women would not be caught off guard. She did it because even at her most vulnerable, she wanted to help someone else. Farrah Fawcett passed away on June 25, 2009, the same day, in a heartbreaking twist of timing as Michael Jackson, which meant that much of the world's grief was pulled in two directions at once. She was 62 years old. The tributes poured in from every corner of the world, but the greatest tribute to Farrah Fawcett isn't not the poster. It isn't Charlie's Angels. It's the fact that her documentary genuinely changed cancer awareness conversations in America. She went out fighting. She went out helping. She was, in the truest sense of the word, remarkable. How do you think Farrah Fawcett is the most iconic, beautiful woman Hollywood ever gave us? And what memory of her is the one you'll carry forever? Please share it below. She deserves every single word. And that is our list. 12 of the most beautiful, talented, resilient, and unforgettable women Hollywood ever gave us. From Pam Grier kicking down doors in the 1970s, to Sophia Loren winning awards at 90, to the eternal, heartbreaking, magnificent Farrah Fawcett, time has moved differently for each of them. Some are living their best chapters right now. Some we've lost far too soon. And all of them remind us that true beauty isn't just a face or a body or a poster. It's the courage to show up, to fight, to keep going, and to leave the world a little better than you found it. So now I want to hear from you. Which woman on this list surprised you the most? Which story hit you the hardest? Drop it all in the comments because I genuinely want this to be a conversation, not just a video. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, you are exactly the kind of person I made this channel for, someone who appreciates real stories, real history, and real people. If this video moved you even a little, please hit that like button. It takes 1 second, and it helps this channel grow more than you know. Subscribe if you haven't already, hit the bell for notifications, and share this video with someone who grew up loving these incredible women. Your support means the world to a new channel just getting started. Thank you, genuinely, truly, and I'll see you in the next one.